If you have been a member of the One Piece community for any significant amount of time, you're probably aware of the fact that the One Piece planet is several times larger than our own. But what you might not be aware of is the fact that that is a lie. The One Piece planet is not now, nor has it ever been, bigger than our planet. So why then do so many people believe that it is? Well, it all goes back to pixel scaling and a river in Alabaster. For those of you who are unaware, the basics of pixel scaling are pretty simple. If you know the canon size or height of a given object or character, you can use that measurement to find the heights and sizes of other things. For example, we know that the Thousand Sunny is about 50 meters tall, which means that we can use this image here to determine that this umbrella is 900 meters tall, which conceptually is very cool. That is a very fun fact. But unfortunately, in practice, pixel scaling tends to be less than reliable. For example, we know that the Going Merry is approximately 11 meters tall, which means we can take that information and this panel to determine that the canals of Reverse Mountain are approximately 130 meters across. And we can then take that information and this map to determine that the One Piece world has a circumference just below 24 kilometers, which is a grand total of 1,666 times smaller than our planet. So while pixel scaling can certainly be a fun way to find a rough estimate of the size of things, it is by no means a reliable method, especially when you're talking about an artist like Oda, who isn't exactly known for his size consistency. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about this river in Alabaster. Back during Alabaster, Vivi and the gang were trying to get across this river, and while they were swimming across, Usopp asked how far they had to swim. To which Vivi replied, "The river is 50 kilometers across." Then, later in the story, we see this bird's eye view of Alabaster. And fans were quick to measure that river and use that measurement to determine that Alabaster is 4,000 kilometers across, which for reference is roughly the size of Australia. They then took that measurement, applied it to this globe, and used that to determine that the One Piece world must be massive. But just how massive is a point of contention, because nobody can seem to agree on what the math says. Part of that is due to the inherent inconsistency of pixel scaling, part of that is due to the fact that this is not a canon drawing of the planet, and a small part of it is because some people are just bad at math. I have seen calculations anywhere from 2 times the size of our planet to the size of the sun. And if that's where the story ended, I would not have as much of a problem with this theory. Because that's just it. It's a theory. Pixel scaling at its core is a fan theory with some math thrown in. But unfortunately for all of us, another math-related group got involved. Power scalers. Power scalers became very invested in the idea that the One Piece planet is huge. Because if the One Piece planet is huge, that means all of their calculations are even bigger. Every strength calculation, every speed feat, every example of a character showing some ability times 1,000 now. Oh, I'm sorry, you think Naruto and Ichigo are strong on those puny little planets? No. We're over here in One Piece where we fight on the sun. And because power scalers are so invested in maintaining the credibility of this theory, they have to prove that Alabaster isn't just an outlier. Which, for the record, it absolutely is. If they could prove that more than one island is 4,000 kilometers across, then they can assume every island is 4,000 kilometers across. Which is how you end up with shenanigans like Dressrosa. We can all look at Dressrosa with our eyes and understand it is not very big. It is, at most, a single city in size. But a substantial number of people have convinced themselves that Dressrosa, much like Alabaster, is 4,000 kilometers across. And they do this with Viola. It is very explicitly stated in both the manga and the anime that Viola's ability allows her to see anything within a 4,000 kilometer radius. And Viola herself says that she can see all of Dressrosa. Therefore, Dressrosa is 4,000 kilometers across. Hey guys! What? Essentially, their argument is that if Viola is on the very edge of Dressrosa, and she can see all of Dressrosa, that makes Dressrosa 4,000 kilometers. I feel like I'm losing my mind. If Viola is able to see all of Dressrosa, then that means Dressrosa is anywhere from 0 kilometers to 4,000 kilometers. She can't only see things that are she can see everything within that. But they don't just stop at Dressrosa, because next, they're going after Wano. During Wano, there is a moment in which messages are delivered via arrow. And in the English translation, it says the arrows traveled a great distance. However, in the Japanese, it specifically uses the word senri, which means 4,000 kilometers. People then take this measurement to say the arrows traveled 4,000 kilometers, which makes sense if you don't understand Japanese. Senri in Japanese is very similar to the word ton in English. If I say something weighs a ton, you don't think it weighs 2,000 pounds, you think it weighs a lot, because that's how the word is used. Another great example in English is buttload. That's a real measurement, but we don't use it as an actual measurement anymore, we use it as an expression. In Japanese, senri means a great distance, which is why the English translation translated it like that. Now, I'm sure some of you are watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, wow, these are some really bad theories and some really weak evidence. But you don't even know the half of it, because I haven't even talked about the moon yet. One of the arguments that people have for the One Piece planet being massive is that they think the One Piece planet has 6 moons. Now, setting aside the fact that having more moons doesn't mean the planet is bigger, I'm looking at you, Pluto, the One Piece planet only has 1 moon! It has only ever had 1 moon. We see the moon in the sky literally all the time. In fact, we see it so often that we can track the passage of time via the phases of the moon. So again, you might be asking yourself, why do people believe it has more than 1 moon then? Well, may I introduce you to the bane of my existence, this image from Ohara. During Robin's flashback in Ohara, we see this. It is very clearly the One Piece planet with several celestial bodies orbiting around it. And essentially, the claim is that these are all moons orbiting the One Piece planet. But unfortunately for the people who believe this, these are not moons. These are planets. And before anyone even tries to leave the comment, no, I'm not saying in the One Piece universe that the other planets are revolving around the Earth. This is a geocentric model of the solar system, specifically an armillary sphere, which is used for navigation. Essentially, an armillary sphere is a 3-dimensional astrolabe. You use the positioning of the planets around the Earth to figure out your location on the Earth, which would be a pretty important thing in a world like One Piece. Now, you might be asking yourself, if this is a navigational tool, why do we only ever see it here? Well, you need to remember where here is. This is a library, a place where they are keeping historical documents and artifacts. When you have a device as accurate as a log pose, you don't need complex shit like this. But that doesn't mean that this isn't of historical value. It obviously is. Which is why it's in a library with a bunch of historical researchers. Every single piece of evidence for this theory is like this. It's either completely made up nonsense, like with Dressrosa, or it's a simple misunderstanding of what something is/means. Now, I want to take a step back for a minute, because I tend to get very emotional about this topic in a way that's probably not healthy. But when you have been arguing over the exact same topic for years on end, you tend to get a bit annoyed when everyone recycles the exact same arguments over and over. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with power scaling or pixel scaling. When you understand that what you're doing is not canon, it can be really fun. But you know what's not fun? having to make the exact same video 8 times over the course of 3 years, explaining to people how moons work. It doesn't matter how many times I debunk these theories. People are just going to keep believing them. And they're just going to keep creating new, even more ridiculous theories. I'm willing to bet if you go to the comments right now, you will see someone talking about the fact that there's 20 million islands, and that many islands would never fit on a small planet. It's like an incredibly stupid game of whack-a-mole, which is why I now pass this burden on to you. It is no longer my job to care about this topic. It is now your job to point people to this video. I have cursed you with the burden of knowledge, and in doing so, I have set myself free. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. Get cursed, chucklefucks!